You sifted through all the data, you read through the reports, there's a lot of numbers to go through. What did you find most interesting? What stuck out at you?
Well, what's really interesting, and so what they were looking at was median hourly earnings for full or part-time workers in the U.S. 16 years and over. And if you look at those in 2015, you might think that they're breaking this down by racial and ethnic groups and also by sex, and you might think, who's going to be at the top of this? White men. Right. But it actually turns out that Asian men outpace white men.
By a huge margin, too. That's the green line at the top.
Yeah, so in 2015, Asian men, their median hourly earnings were $24 compared with $21 for white males. So that's significant.
And I'm not quite surprised here because, pay has a lot to do with education, and the fact is that we have lots of highly educated Asian people. So what does this have to do with that?
Right. So of course, Asians are more likely to have a bachelor's degree or more. They're also than whites, and they're also more likely to have an advanced degree than whites. But if you actually look at it, you can look at those 25 and older with at least a bachelor's degree, and those workers, and when you look at their median hourly earnings, you still actually see that Asians are ahead. It's about $35 in 2015 for Asian men compared to $32 for white men.
It's pretty striking, but one thing that you notice, of course, you can't help but notice, is the blue bars, which is women not earning as much as their male counterparts. Right, in every case. And in fact, if you look at it, of course, women earning less than, say, white men and black men, right? Asian women? Asian women speaking on our behalf.
We have to lead the pack.
So if you look at it in each racial category, a racial or ethnic category, women are going to be earning less than men in terms of their median hourly wages, and also if you compare all of them to white men. But actually, what's somewhat interesting is white and Asian women actually outpaced black and Hispanic men. When you're looking at the overall, when you're looking at all those workers, 16 and over, that first bigger category.
But when we're talking about Asian people, though, we're not talking like they're all the same. We're talking about so many different countries.
Right, could be Korean Bolivian or Chinese American, for instance.
Right, and that's one big caveat with all of this. Obviously, the Asian American population is very diverse, and if you're talking, about various different groups, Korean versus, the Hmong population, you're going to see don't have it in the data here, but it's likely that you're going to see a lot of different outcomes.
So what have things looked like in terms of the pay gap for these different groups over time?
So over time, what you see is that actually, women, we're always comparing to white men here. So women in all of these different racial and ethnic groups have closed the gap of white women a lot more so than black and Hispanic women. But what's interesting is actually black and Hispanic men have not closed the gap with white men over time.
Wow.
So the women have made, in that sense, the women have made more progress than the men.